A woman gave birth to a baby girl inside a gas station, but instead of taking her newborn to a hospital or even calling 911, she left her there to die inside the gas station toilet. The disturbing case unfolded in April of last year in Houston, Texas. A staff member at the gas station was cleaning the restroom when something stood out. Initially, it was believed to be a prank, someone leaving a doll in the toilet. But it wasn't a doll, it was a human baby that detectives say appeared to be full term and had hair. Investigators pieced together what happened by taking a look at the Shell station surveillance video. The video showed a woman walking into the gas station on April 1st. She was in there for about 15 minutes, then walked out with blood on her leg, got into her car, and drove away. Her baby wasn't found until the following morning. According to police, they were told by an FBI informant the woman on the surveillance video was Guadalupe Zavala Lopez. An investigator spoke with Zavala Lopez's mom. She told them she had suspicions her daughter was pregnant, but Zavala Lopez denied it. Authorities later traveled from Houston to Brownsville, a town in Texas right on the southern U.S. border, where Zavala Lopez was at a bus station. Authorities say Zavala Lopez is originally from Mexico and overstayed her visa at the time of her baby's death. She was apprehended by Customs and Border Protection while Houston detectives made their way to Brownsville. When she spoke with investigators, she told them she didn't know she was expecting, but started to have immense pain and contractions on April 1st. According to police, she told them she stopped at the gas station to use the restroom when she noticed heavy bleeding. She told them she felt something was coming out of her and went to the restroom and just flushed without looking. But then she admitted she did see her own baby's face inside the toilet, but never checked to see if her baby was alive. She told police she gave another push and used her hands to release the umbilical cord and placenta. Zavala Lopez says she tried to clean herself up. She wiped the blood off her legs and shoes. She found a mop outside the bathroom and attempted to clean it before leaving. The horrific case never resulted in a murder charge for Zavala Lopez. Instead, she was charged with tampering with evidence. She ultimately pleaded guilty to that charge and tampering/fabricating evidence this year, and recently she learned her fate. A Houston judge ordered Zavala Lopez to serve 4 years in state prison, but she was credited with 489 days of time served, meaning she'll likely be out of prison in about 2.5 years. This is truly a horrific case, so let's break this down with Texas-based criminal defense attorney Bridget Williams. Bridget, it's always so great to see you. You know, the police affidavit to this case has some very horrific details, from Diana Zavala Lopez giving birth to the aftermath to her attempting to flee. But what do you make of this case overall?
It's a very horrific story, just as you stated. Sad. It is just unbelievable. In a situation like this, it's a sad situation for the individual involved. Do they feel as though this is their only option that they have available to them? It's one of the reasons why Texas has implemented what we call a baby Moses law. And so maybe that was something she wasn't privy to. But what that does is allows individuals who may be a parent of a infant child younger than 60 days old to leave that child in the possession of an emergency caregiver. Generally, that's going to be a fire department or a police officer or something along those lines. They voluntarily give the child over and they have no intent to return. And so that's one of the reasons why Texas implemented that law a few years ago, actually. But this is just a sad situation when this person felt that was the only option that they had.
And why do you think it was that she wasn't charged with murder, instead only tampering with evidence?
Murder is such a high burden to prove. Murder in the state of Texas is a first degree felony, and it is the intentional killing of another. And so the state would have to prove that she intended to kill this baby. And that would just be a high burden for them to prove. Now, they did have other options that they could have gone with, which may have included manslaughter, which is the reckless killing of another. And that's where a person just has a substantial disregard for their actions or their conduct, right? And that resulted in the death of another person. That again is a high burden to prove. And so maybe they felt as though they didn't have enough evidence to prove that this person acted recklessly. Now, they also had another option, which could have been what we call criminally negligent homicide. And I believe they may have had enough evidence to move forward with that, because that's saying that the person's actions were so negligently based that that caused the killing of another person. The only thing there is that the that punishment range for criminally negligent homicide is less than what it was that she was actually charged for in this particular case. The punishment range is less. And so maybe that's why they decided to go with the tampering with evidence instead.
It's truly hard to wrap your head around a horrific case like this, but I want to take this time, though, to thank our amazing sponsors who help make it possible to continue sharing these stories and cases with you. I'm sure a lot of you watching this might be business owners or thinking about starting a side hustle. Well, Odoo can help. Odoo is a free all-in-one business management software with tools to help you run your business. I mean, I'm a cat mom and I want my cat to get some brand deals. Using Odoo's website builder, I built a site for my cat Buttons in just minutes, thanks to easy tools like AI copywriting and drag and drop features. 5 minutes later, boom, check it out. I now have buttonsthecat.com. So I want to thank Odoo for sponsoring our videos. And for our amazing viewers, you can start building your site now and get a free domain for the first year with our link, odoo.com/lcnews25. Again, that's odoo.com/lcnews25 to try Odoo now for free. And yet, officials still haven't released the baby's cause of death. But do you think it's possible her child wasn't breathing when she was born? Because you would think a baby just being born, would be crying loud enough that maybe other employees at the gas station might have heard that.
That is very well possible that the baby may have been a stillborn. There's no way for us to know that without some type of evidence from the state bringing that forward. But that could be another reason why the state did not charge her with any type of homicide charges. If the baby was born a stillborn, again, that is not any type of homicide, and so that may be a reason why they did not move forward with a homicide charge.
And normally, when we see kind of cases very similar to this, it's normally a pregnant teenager who might have been trying to hide the pregnancy from their parents because they didn't want to get in trouble. But in this case in particular, this was a woman in her mid to late 20s. She didn't call 911. She didn't call police. She didn't even call for help, let alone her parents even knowing that she had given birth. But why do you think that is?
There's so many reasons that could be the possibility of why this happened and why that person felt that was her only option. I mean, I understand there may have been some immigration consequences that may have been going on. So sometimes people are afraid and they feel as though if I come forward, if I have this child in the hospital, if I give this child over to an emergency caregiver, then I may be deported. Or they may just not feel very comfortable to go forward with providing the child to an emergency caregiver in the first place, right? That may be a very sensitive situation for them to be in. So there could be a multitude of reasons why she felt that she didn't have another option.
And are you surprised by her sentence? 4 years with credit for nearly 500 days served, meaning she'll likely be out in about 2.5 years. But are you surprised, given the totality of this case, that she got that, what some may call a lenient sentence?
I'm not completely surprised. The offense that she was charged with, the tampering with evidence with a human corpse, was a second-degree felony. Punishment range for that is 2 to 10 years. And then if the person has been in jail this entire time, she has over 500 days credit. She's been in jail for over a year already, right? In addition to that, it is not uncommon for judges to give individuals time credit for the time that they have been in jail. So if she's been in jail this entire time, that means that she was unable to afford bond, or the court did not offer her bond. So she has been in court waiting on this trial or this case to come to some type of resolution this entire time. So she's been in jail for over a year now already.
And this case, like you had just mentioned, never went to trial. Instead, she pleaded guilty to her charges. As a criminal defense attorney, do you think that was the right move? Mainly because I can't imagine had this case gotten in front of a jury and, the jurors had to listen to this evidence, watch the surveillance video. But are you surprised that she ended up pleading guilty?
I'm not surprised at all. In a situation like this, where the evidence is overwhelming and it's very emotional. Again, we have a baby that's involved, and I'm sure the pictures are extremely graphic. Those are things that if you show to a jury, that's going to play on their heartstrings. That is something that is, again, very emotionally driven. And so, in a situation like this may have been the best situation for her to plea in a plea agreement in order for her to avoid 10 years, right? Because if a jury was the deciding factor or the determining factor of what her sentencing is, she very well could have walked away with 10 years in prison. And so, getting the offer that she had, especially with the back time that she had, the jail time credit applying to that, she doesn't have much time left. So I think, it was a great plea agreement for her.
Well, Bridget Williams, I really appreciate your time and your insight into this case, especially kind of the tidbits about Texas law as well too. Before we sign you off, though, is there anything about this case overall that you would like to add?
I just think that this is just an example of what happens when an individual just doesn't know what to do, or there may be some consequences facing their lives. They don't know exactly what to do. But with that being said, again, Texas has these laws in place called the Baby Moses Law, which is very acceptable and doesn't apply criminal cases or criminal charges to the infant's mother or father if they are deciding to hand over the child within 60 days voluntarily. So the person does have an option if they choose to.
All right, Bridget Williams, again, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's unclear where Diana Zavala Lopez will serve out the rest of her sentence, and at this time, authorities haven't revealed her child's cause of death. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Millner.